Okay, section 1.5, adding real numbers. Okay, so the concept is pretty simple, and we're going to go back to the whole idea of a number line um, when it comes to adding, and especially for 1.6 when it comes to subtracting. Um, so the idea is when you add real numbers, for example, if we were to simply add 3 plus 2, the idea is if on a number line we're starting at 3 and then I'm adding 2 more, it means I'm going to the right because plus means go to the right 2 spaces. So if I start at 3, add 2 more, going to the right 2 more spaces is going to put me at 5. Okay, that really shouldn't seem too awfully difficult. But the concept is really what we want to think about, because when it comes down to adding with negative numbers and subtracting and things, it's going to be really a key concept there. So again, think about a number line. We'll put 0 in the middle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if I start at 3, it means I start at 0. I'm going to go 3 spaces to the right. 1, 2, 3. I would be right here. And then I'm going to add 2 more spaces or go 2 more spaces to the right. 1, 2. I would end up at 5. Again, that's a relatively simple one. It's the concept that I'm concerned with. So now let's take it a different direction. We want to add -1 plus -2. All right, well, let's use our number line, because when people start doing stuff with negative numbers, it starts to become a little more challenging. So that means I'm going to start at -1, which is here, and then I'm going to add -2. Adding -2 means I'm going to go 2 spaces more to the left. 1, 2 more. So if I'm -1 and then I go 2 more spaces to the left, I'm at -3. All right, hopefully that's making some kind of sense to you guys. All right, just extended the page a little bit there. All right, so let's do a few examples in one here. So, oh, that's an A, B, C. So for letter A, we're going to do -3 plus -7. For letter B, we're going to do -1 plus -20. And C, we're going to do -2 plus -10. So again, the concept is if I go 3 to the left to start, and then I'm going to add -7, it means I'm going to go 7 more spaces to the left on the number line. So if I went from -3, another 7 to the left on the number line, I will now be at -10. Same concept, starting at -1, so 1 to the left of 0, and then adding -20 means I'm going to go 20 more spaces to the left from -1, which is going to put us at -21. And then C, starting at -2, going to -10 more, which is 10 more spaces to the left, would put us at -12. So that's not so bad when we've got a couple of negative numbers. It just keeps going more and more in the negative direction. But now what if we have a combination of positives and negatives? We've got -4 plus 6. So what that really says is I'm going to start 4 to the left of 0, but then I'm going to come back to the right because it's plus 6, 6 spaces. So if we kind of go up here back to our number line real quick, If I start 4 to the left, 1, 2, 3, 4, excuse me, I'm going to start here. But then if I come back 6 spaces to the right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I'm going to finish at positive 2. So again, think about this in terms of direction on the number line. Negative 4 is 4 to the left. Coming back 6 spaces means I have to come back the whole 4 spaces that I went to the left, and then 2 more. So I'm going to be at positive 2. Excuse me. All right, we're going to do a couple more examples here. So let's do 3 plus negative 7, negative 2 plus 10, and we'll even throw a decimal in there, 0.2 plus negative 0.5. So again, think of it in terms of direction. Extend this just a little bit there. Starting at positive 3 and then adding negative 7. So I start at 3 to the right and then I'm going to go back 7 to the left. So it means I have to cover the entire 3 that I went to the right, and then I've got 4 more to go back to the left. So plus 3 and then 7 to the left puts me at 4 to the left of 0. Letter B, starting 2 to the left of 0 and then going back to the right 10 spaces is actually going to put us at positive 8. And then letter C, 0.2 plus negative 0.5. So starting 0.2 to the right of 0 and then coming back to the left 0.5 spaces is actually going to put us at minus 0.3. So again, I hope you can see this stuff using the concept of the number line. That's the idea. All right, let's go ahead and combine this with more than just two numbers being added or subtracted together here. Added, actually. So letter A, we're going to do 3 plus negative 7 plus negative 8. So again, the concept is start the left because I've got all additions, so I got to start left to right. 3 plus negative 7, that's 3 spaces to the right to start. Then I'm going to go back to the left 7 spaces. So I'm going to go back to negative 4, and then plus the negative 8 is going to put me back even more to the left. So from negative 4, 8 more to the left is going to put us at negative 12. All right, let's do some where we've got grouping symbols in it. So I'm going to have brackets 7 plus, oops, that should be a 10. That's a negative 10, and the bracket, plus another bracket. Let's see, negative 2 plus absolute value of negative 4, and the bracket. So I've got to do whatever's inside of these brackets first. I've got 2 of them, and within this bracket I actually have another grouping symbol, which is the absolute value, so I should probably do that part first. I can actually do what's inside this bracket because it's separate from this one, so we can simplify this. So this is 7, that's positive, so that's 7 to the right, plus a negative 10 means come backwards or to the left 10 spaces. So from positive 7 going backwards 10 spaces puts us at negative 3. Okay, this one I actually have to do this part first. I've got to do the absolute value of negative 4. Again, that's the distance from 0, so that's just going to be 4. Simplify this bracket before I can combine these two. So that's going to be still a negative 3 inside that one. Negative 3, sorry. And then negative 2 plus 4. 2 to the left and then back 4 to the right is going to put me at positive 2. And then the last thing is starting at 3 to the left, going back 2 to the right doesn't quite get me back to 0, so I am at negative 1. And there we go. All right, there are some applications that go with this, but you guys will probably see a couple of problems. Um, it's just going to be adding positive and negative numbers together, so it shouldn't be too difficult. The last concept in this in particular section is going to be what's called the opposite or additive inverse. Wow, it's really not writing very smooth there. Ugh, that's horrible, sorry. Opposite or additive inverse. It's actually a really simple concept. Okay, so the opposite or additive inverse is simply something that you add to a number that brings it back to 0. Therefore, it is exactly the opposite. So the definition is, there we go, a number which, wow, that's just, for some reason it's not writing well, and I apologize. See if we can make that a little better. Not really. Eh, not the best. It's kind of lagging a little bit here. A number which adds to 0. I'll try and write a little bit slower and see if that works. So the idea is pretty simple. Probably one of the easier ideas that we do, actually. So I'm going to give you a set of numbers here. And we're going to discuss what the opposite or the additive inverse is of each one of these. So the opposite or the additive inverse of 5 would be negative 5, simply because if I started at 5 to the right, I would have to come back 5 to the left to get to 0. So it's just the opposite sign. So the opposite or additive inverse of negative 6 would be positive 6. Opposite or additive inverse of 1/2, negative 1/2. Opposite or additive inverse of negative 4.5, positive 4.5. Okay, again, not really difficult, probably one of the easier concepts that we do. So now what we want to do is, what we need to understand is that we can get by using the idea of the negative as an opposite, we can actually create some new stuff here. So let's take a look at what I'm trying to say there. All right, our last example. Why is that not writing? That's weird. Sorry about that. That is a total lag. No idea what's going on there. Let's try that again. That's better. So if I have the negative of negative 10, that negative right there and that negative indicate, so this is negative 10, but I want the opposite. I want the negative of that. So if I want the opposite of negative 10, because that's what this is telling me to do, that is positive 10. If I have the negative of negative 1/2, it's telling me this negative out here says I want the opposite of negative 1/2, which is positive 1/2. Okay, we can do this with variable combinations as well. This is a negative 2x, but this negative out here tells me I want the opposite of negative 2x, which then would be positive 2x. And this one's a little bit different. This is the negative, or the opposite of the absolute value, that is an absolute value, of negative 6. Well, the absolute value of negative 6 is positive 6, but I want the opposite of that, so this one actually comes out to be negative 6. So this negative sign out in the front here, all it says is I want the opposite of whatever's inside the parentheses or inside the grouping symbol. These up here, we were just finding the opposites. That's all we were doing. But this one out here with that negative outside the grouping symbol says whatever I get, I want its opposite. Okay, that wraps up 1.5. We'll come back with 1.6, which instead of adding real numbers is going to be subtracting real numbers.